Guys, my name is Carson. For those that don't know me, hello. I just moved here from New Orleans, so I don't know anyone. But I'm gonna get right to it. My partner was Amber, and we had the topic art, and we wanted to look at cultural differences concerning art. But in my study, it looked at the cultural differences in children's family drawings. And so, Ariane Gernhardt, Hartmut Rublein, and Heidi Keller in 2013 examined the cultural differences in children's family drawings from three cultures. And I'm just going to, briefly go over these three cultures. They took a sample from Osnabrück, Germany, which is a more individualistic, westernized urban area in Germany, similar to us, a non-traditional and I would say a more vertical individualistic orientation. They took a sample from Ankara, Turkey, which represented more of a hybrid mix between individualistic and collectivist culture. And I would say this was a vertical collectivist orientation, still being a non-traditional, a non-traditional society. And then the last culture they examined was a area in Africa called Cameroon, and that is a very communal area, more of a horizontal collectivist orientation, and has more traditional aspects to it. So this study was quantitative, and it had mostly representative samples with an equal amount of age and gender distribution. So they hypothesized mainly that the Cameroon children would differ significantly from the other two cultures, differing in their figure size. So how tall or short the drawings were, the variety of details, if they would have a lot of facial features, if they were smiling, the positioning of the family members, if they were close together or far apart, and whether it was a big family or a small family that was drawn. So the results show that, also I should mention that I felt like the language bias was accounted for, since in the procedure, a teacher asked in their native language, just very simply, draw a picture of your family. And then there was a coding procedure that two raters looked at all of these different aspects, and there was high reliability between them. And so in the results, multiple analyses were done, mainly ANOVA studies were conducted, and they found that Cameroon children drew significantly more people than the children from Ankara, Turkey, and Osnabrück, Germany. Also, the Cameroon children less often included their fathers, but instead included more relatives as well as non-relatives. They drew their figures smaller compared with the other cultures, and they also placed, like I said, they placed themselves more often next to non-relatives. And considering facial details, it was very surprising that the Cameroon children, most of them didn't even draw a face or include any type of facial expression at all. And, that significantly differed from the other cultures. And also, one interesting fact was that the Ankara Turkish children, compared with other cultures, drew themselves next to their parents more often, probably representing, that westernized, those are, their parents are the main caregivers in that society. So looking, and the Cameroon children tended to arrange their family members all over the page. That was a really big, interesting fact, difference to me, that they tended to draw their family members scattered across the page rather than up and down or on a baseline. and that differed from the other cultures significantly. So looking at these results, I would say we conclude children's drawings corresponded with their family structural relationships. The results were consistent with the hypotheses, with Cameroon children displaying more interrelatedness in their drawings, reflecting more of a collectivist culture. The Cameroon children more often drew large families that included non-family members and also placed themselves next to these non-relatives. And this might reflect their extended households as well as the multiple caregivers. They also didn't include any they included less facial features and positive emotions, which may say something about their face-to-face interactions. And also, the findings of taller figure sizes in German children's drawing is consistent with the society's orientation, where most perceive themselves as independent and separate from each other. And lastly, when we, again, the spatial orientation with Cameroon children, how they, they drew their family members all over the page. That might have something to do with the aspect of their culture in terms of themselves and how they view other members of their society. And so the main variables elicited differences mainly between the German and Ankara, Turkey culture versus the Cameroon culture. And I felt that this study was good in taking into account bias, because drawing is such a universal expression, and I felt that they were good about the language bias and how they differentiated the variables. And also, but I did feel that although I did feel their conclusions were valid and mostly generalizable, I felt that the conclusions made from Ankara, Turkey shouldn't be generalized to the entire Turkish culture, because Ankara was such a westernized kind of individualistic part of Turkey, and I don't think that it should be compared to the rest of the country. But all in all, I really enjoyed the study. I did expect more differentiation between the three cultures rather than the Turkish and the German culture kind of separately against the Cameroon culture. But I really enjoyed this assignment, and I learned a lot about, the differences and in art. So thanks again, guys. I hope I was kind of clear. I hope I was clear, with all of this. But thanks again. Bye.